There you go. You heard it from her. Okay. So agenda, we had our bell ringing. It was very quiet. I apologize. We'll be doing normal stuff over there. It's not marking for Rotary Minute today. Sorry, I haven't that one yet. And then we've got our announcements and happenings. So everyone like to stand and face our digital flag. All right. Go ahead. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. And then on to our four-way test. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better information? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Will it be fun? Yes. All right. So today, you guys can be seated. We'll have the Rotary Minutes. It's going to be a video today that I saw from Rotary's website and wanted to show you all. I thought it was super cool. Oh, I know. I'm clicking in Zoom. That will not work.
In hindsight, life seemed it's a story you get really cool and tell it. But in moments of uncertainty, when I have no idea what direction to take, I tell myself to do even more. Polio changed the way I work, but not what I can be. I'm a father, a professional, an activist, a national champion, and a polio survivor. My father told me it's not where you start that matters, it's how you finish. After paralysis, I worked to regain the strength to walk. I never gave in to polio, and neither can you. Every day we are one step closer to eradication. Let's finish and finish strong.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing that with me. As many of you know, when I used to live in Central Asia, I got polio, and it's just such an amazing aspect to what we do in Rotary. And I know Marty just gave me, we got a...
Yeah, you have to share that right now.
Yeah.
It works perfectly.
Yeah, it was not planned that way, but we got a card from RI, it looks like, right?
No, from another.
Oh, okay. This is all surprising, I didn't get to read it, but dear President and now past President Slider and members of the Boulder Flatirons Rotary Club, on behalf of the District 5450 Polio Committee, I'd like to thank you for your 2020-2021 donation to Polio Plus of $2,153, which equals $50 per member. The committee set an aspirational goal of all clubs in the district towards an amount of greater than $50 per member. Your club joined 26 other clubs to meet that goal. On behalf of the millions of children who've been spared paralysis, it says thank you. Oh, and they wrote even more on the back. Oh my gosh. Since January 2021, there have been 2 cases of polio in the wild type virus. So some of your club's regular donors may be interested in joining a society. There's more information about there's a Polio Plus Society. So it's kind of like Paul Harris Society. So if you're interested, we've got some information on that up here, and I'll make sure that, yeah. All right. Oh, well, now is time to introduce any guests that we might have. Does anyone have any Any guests today? Seemed like a low guest day. I've so many the last couple of weeks. So. All right. Well, we have our speakers, but we'll introduce our speakers. Did the speakers bring guests that won't be speaking today? No. Perfect. All right. Great.
No, I don't think we should introduce Dorothy as a guest.
Dorothy, please be standing, and we will we'll introduce you and give you a mic, and you can just tell us your name and where you come from, and if there's any fun facts you want to say.
Good morning. Well, there's a microphone.
For you.
It's not.
Boulder Rotary Club. Boulder. The big.
Big Boulder. Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. It was a pleasure to meet you and have you here. Move on to some club announcements real quick. Again, Club Assembly will be July 28th, so we'll go over a lot of business type stuff there, talk about committees. Hopefully for some new members, and some members might be interested in starting on something else in the club. It'd be a good time to learn what's going on. Peach sales, lots of great news about peach sales today. I don't know if anyone wants to talk about any other specifics. You guys have new counts that you want to add?
Yeah, they're pretty dismal.
Abysmal.
Abysmal. Oh my gosh.
Terrible.
We have about
2 weeks.
before we got to the other. Last year, an idea of what's going on with jam. Last year we sold
300 bottles of jam. Today we're about 50.
We made money on the jam. Pretty good money.
Last year we sold 950 cases, just us, of peaches. As of right now, we're about 350. If this man, this club is going to have money to give away next year, it's time.
Well, Leslie. Go short Leslie.
To start knocking on doors and asking your neighbors to participate. I realize there's a lot of competition out there.
Yeah.
I understand it. But I got to tell you, I'm not the same numbers that I was last year, so I'm not buying that. You just got to keep after it. You just got to go get them to do something. So it's time to do it. We're going to need help come the 14th. I expect the peaches to be here early in the morning, usually come over Friday night. We won't have the numbers of boxes to unload this time because Nylock and Littleton's are coming on the 7th. So we're only going to have ours to deal with, so it won't be quite as crazy come Saturday morning. Same place, next to King Supers, behind Whip House Place was. Same place we've been the last number of years. So it's time to make things happen.
Question.
Yeah.
The jam is $10 each or 3 for $25? Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
But the gift bag is one of each.
Okay. All right.
So if you want, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you want 3 peach bourbons, it's $30.
Okay, got it. Thanks.
Now we've sold, and I understand, we've sold, I guess we were a little bit more aggressive with half boxes this year, which is going to cause a little more because they don't come in half boxes. We're going to have to make them in half boxes.
No, that's okay.
And and we've sold a lot more half boxes this year than we have in the past. As far as square is concerned, we've done okay. Right now, this morning, 82 full boxes, 21 half boxes on square, 241 boxes, and 12 boxes pre-order. So it's you know, use square or otherwise, and we're also going to need some help selling peaches at 2 different locations on Saturday and Sunday. 3 different locations. What's the third one?
419.
Oh, I don't know. Gun barrel is one that's going to be quite aggressive selling peaches as you guys are the medical center. And, so two places we're going to be selling peaches on Saturday and Sunday, and hopefully that'll give us an opportunity to boost up the numbers. The problem is we have to put our necks on the line. Last year we ordered 200 extra boxes, and right down to the end had some that we actually ended up giving away. If we go much over 200 boxes, we're at risk of eating into the amount of money that we make on the ones that we pre-sold. So get them pre-sold as best as you can. Any questions? And you can give me your numbers anytime so that I can begin to I actually have to give some pre-numbers to the orchard at the end of this week so that they've got an idea of what to do truck-wise. You know, they're not bringing everything over on one truck, so it's a little bit more difficult on them as well. So give me your numbers. You can give me your money anytime, even after the Saturday is fine, because we'll go ahead and pay our bill. We'll have money dripping and share.
What do you think about doing an ad on the daily camera, like they're online, saying with a link to the order rates? Probably not that much. I could look into it. Okay.
Thanks.
There have been a number of people that have been advertising about the neighborhood locales and Facebook and so forth. Well, that's actually transposed into actual pieces. Now's the time to do it.
Right.
Now or never. I did see also on our online store that we did get about $1,000 in sales last week online. So people are doing things, we just need to do more because $1,000 is only, and that's sales, that's not profit. So the equation there is that's not enough to give the full $1,000. Right? That said, move on to some other updates. I think that we're running up, is it, y'all are doing, or that is doing volunteering with you, Joe, next week. Is there any other service events coming up that we should put on our horizon right now, Joe?
Well, we signed up to do the United Way Day of Caring, which will be Friday, September 10th. The plan is to participate in a build project with Habitat for Humanity.
Awesome.
And details will become forthcoming, but we'll be looking for at least 10 Rotarians from this club and other clubs to join us on that site.
Awesome, thank you. And thank you for projecting. So yeah, we'll get more updates on that next week, and we'll be able to clear that up on the club announcements. Again, we're running up on less than a month now for the literacy award deadlines, so that's exciting. I don't think I've got one application in so far for it. Have you seen any others? No, one so far. So if you're trying to buy right now, it's pretty tight application pool. And then also grants committee, I think that that's about to send out a nice email with more information about this, but if you want to join, that's where you can review all the grant applications that come in, and it's super exciting for you to be on our club, because it's like, I feel like it's like 50% of what we do. I want to throw up their virtual RILA. I know that Bill's talked about this in email to us all, but just to put it out there, so you can do some viewingship, I think, later, right? So you can see how that goes, but it'll be coming up here just this weekend. So super exciting. If you've never participated in RILA, because there's going to be a virtual version of it, you will be able to see some of what's going on without having been a counselor. So it's kind of a nice intro if you've never been a participant or a counselor. The last one, it's an exciting one. Did you want to talk about this one yourself?
Yes, October 2nd, I believe, is on a Saturday. CU is playing Southern Cal. I've got 20 tickets secured right now. It's going to be a sellout. We're going to have a tailgate either for breakfast or lunch, depending upon the game time has not been announced yet, but it will be a sold-out game. So first come, first serve. If you're interested in going to the game, I know it's a long ways away. The tickets will be $75. That include a meal. And when the tickets are gone, that's it. I won't be able to get any more at this point. If we oversell, I'll try to get some more tickets. But right now, we've got 20 tickets to sell.
Thank you so much, Luke. Yeah, that'll be exciting. Do you have the ticket price for those?
75.
75? Awesome. With food, awesome. So for everyone online, that's $75 what you'd be expecting on that one. That's going to be October 2nd. Cool. Move on to district updates real quick. All of these are repeats. There is this weekend a Grand Lake Fire Relief. That's that trail raking project. So that's it's exciting. If you're interested in going there, they're taking the old snowshoe trail and turning that into a new trail. The trail had burned. The fire for East Troublesome last year. There is a Rotary 101. You can review the old Rotary 101 from May. It's online on the district website, but there'll be a live one going on the evening of the 10th next month. The bike ride, I'm getting so many emails with this bike ride, and I keep telling my school road bike, I know what road bike is for, and you're going to come though, right?
They will continue.
I'm like, normally doing the whole Sticky Mountain bike, I will do it, but it will be the shortest one to offer. And then the Rockies game. So like I said, I got tickets to the Rockies game for Rotary. It's the Polio Plus fundraiser event. So that should be Polio Awareness Week for us on the 26th of September. So if y'all are interested, remember that.
Can I add an announcement for next time?
Yeah.
The Venus to Miles bike race is August 28th or 29th. I can't remember which day. If any of you are familiar with it, our club has really donated to Greenhouse Scholars in the past, and this is their biggest fundraiser of the year. They've only done, last year they had to cancel it, but this year they're going to do a bike ride. It's the largest women's bike ride in the country, I think. Men are allowed to ride if they ride in drag. But if you're interested in volunteering, go to Greenhouse Scholars and please sign up for it. It's a fun event, and they're always looking for people to help with parking, to help with registration, to help with setting up food tables, all kinds of stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, so we'll add that to
August 28th.
Okay, so yeah, for people online, that would be another bike ride on August 28th for Greenhouse Scholars fundraising. And we'll put that information in the next club email that comes out next week. All right. Well, it is time for Happy Bucks, everyone's favorite part of the meeting. So let's bump it over. There we go. We'll start on the left side today. This is a time when people can throw a few dollars in the cup. It's going to Alzheimer's Association. So exciting. We've been collecting quite a bit of money for Alzheimer's this month. And you want to get us started off? Oh, we got Bill here.
So my daughter had her baby on Monday morning at 6:30. It took a little longer than expected. And about halfway through, she said, if I known it was going to be this painful, I would have had a third dog instead. Whatever, I'm doing good.
Congratulations. Yeah. Congratulations.
Oh boy, and it's 7 pounds, 7 ounces.
Well, I saw our resident, I call it now, bald eagle again. Only this time, instead of watching the planes, he was intentfully watching the cars on Highway 7. I can look up and see his beak and his eyes looking down at me. You can almost hear him say, Those are funny looking rabbits. What will it take to get one?
I just have a quick thank you that today's air is more clear.
Yeah.
And so I'm very grateful for the better air today.
It's mid-July, so I'm happy that the basketball season is finally over with.
Yeah.
I'm just happy.
No, this is just for Alzheimer's. It's my in-laws are suffering, so maybe we can make a difference.
Thanks for those who brought food today. Jim and John, thank you. Sorry.
I'm happy to share our word that because of all of you that we're able to provide access to safe drinking water to over 500 people for the next 5 years. And it's going to be a highly impactful project along the Amazon and then natural rivers. And with the grant committee meeting in a couple of weeks, we're likely to make that 1,000 people. So thank you very much. This is one word you were last time I saw you. It's a word you high school 50th class.
You were dancing.
Yeah, that's late 60s. Counselor, teacher, ombudsman. I remember you doing some of your past business with you.
Oh, I did that.
You did firsthand lesson. How much more effectively Congress work in those cases. So nice to see you. And take care.
Remember you asked how my son was doing, we're having an issue with the insurance company. He needs two shots that they're injecting right now. So it delays the blood transfusion, delays the operation. It's just a horrific thing to go through. But we'll prevail one way or another. But thank you for all your concerns and prayers.
First of all, I just found out my daughter-in-law's father was Alzheimer's, so I'm really very, very excited. The other thing is you guys were awesome with the garage sale. Thank you so much. You made $507, which will go to Project Sanctuary. But the big thing is, I can't thank you all enough for doing it. I'm very hard here. I have tax receipts. If anybody needs a tax receipt, so let me know. And the other thing is, I really got to do this. You put up with that 2 weeks before you go. It was crazy. So I'm ready for you.
Many stories about my mom. Tomorrow is her 93rd. She is hanging in there and great.
Outside. So just love to discuss more lots of things. I don't think about my family. I see it up and on all the time. It's hard. So I continue to make and a little bit of last Friday, I made it look easier for me. Another year.
All you gotta do is break it.
Oh, I see some more happy bugs. It only works for online. It's just for virtual. So if you talk to somebody, all right. Got some bank top.
Granddaughter, children, 11, 9, 7, visited us last week. We love them. Why, Michael?
Terry. I'm thankful and I'll be back more often because it's my last Sunday and last day of church class. I don't know what the future holds, and I'm glad to take it. But I also had a birthday last week. That's sad. I went to California though on the scenic trip from my Saturday with my daughter Mariah. And we went to attend a wonderful game. I'm happy for Becca's baby and the fact that she named him Bennett. And Becca was my son Bennett's very first ski instructor when he was about this big. So the fact that it wasn't such a horrific experience and she actually gave it, thought to name his son Bennett, I'll have to tell Bennett.
Well, I love hearing all those happy thoughts. My one for the day is I got to do a 36-hour trip out to the Bay Area and go play with my nephew. And he's now renamed me Uncle Tacos, if you want to call him. Well, this is starting to move us on to our program. So for all of those who are ready online, record yourself. Here we go. And I'll have Bill come do an introduction.
It's my pleasure to introduce our speakers today, Mara Minzer and Kathy Hill, and they're with GUB Growing Up Boulder. Mara is co-founder and executive director of Boulder, Colorado's child-friendly city initiative. She presents and writes internationally on how to engage young people in community planning and on child-friendly cities, including in her TED Talk, How Kids Can Help Design Cities, which has been viewed more than 2.3 million times. Before to go, Mara designed and implemented programs for historically excluded children and families in New York and California. She has an MA in organizational psychology from Columbia University and a BA in psychology from Brown University. Kathy Hill, Growing Up Boulder's executive director, works closely with city and educational partners to design facilities, community engagements that are relevant and impactful. Kathy retired from teaching after 32 years of service, 22 at Whittier International School. She has a BS in Human Development from Colorado State and a master's from Wesley College. So, welcome, Mara and Kathy.
I'll just take a second to get all looped up here. Is this good?
Good.
Okay. All right. Where would be my turn? I can come up. Okay. All right. Well, welcome everyone. It's great to meet all of you, not individually, but here as a group. My name is Minzer, and as Bill said, I'm the co-founder and executive director of Growing Up Boulder, which is Boulder's child and youth-friendly city initiative. And if you don't know what that means, don't worry, we're going to teach you. You probably didn't know we existed, but it's actually an amazing resource in our own community. I'm also an official advisor to UNICEF USA on child-friendly cities. And I'm going to let Kathy Hill, who's extraordinary, introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay in the back? My name is Kathy Hill. I'm the education director at Growing Up Boulder. It's just Mara and I who run the organization. We call ourselves a small but mighty group, and they make big impacts, which is why we're here today to tell you a little bit about our work. Just quickly, I met Mara when I was doing my last 3 years at Whittier International School in Boulder at 20th and Pine, and I just absolutely fell in love with the way that Mara engaged my students with real world projects, and I never had seen my students sort of sit up and take leadership in the way that they did when they were involved in Growing Up Boulder projects. So when I retired 6 years ago, Mara and I got together, and it's been a great thing ever since. So we're really happy to be here.
Yeah, and I just want to read the subtitle just because I think this is important. So Growing Up Boulder is the name of our organization, but then it says how Boulder's child-friendly city initiative leads to a more sustainable and equitable community for all of us. And we'll explain why it doesn't even matter if you have your own kids or not, that it actually affects all of us positively. Okay. Okay, so Growing Up Boulder, as we said, is a child-friendly city initiative. And our vision is to inspire communities around the US and actually around the world to adopt a child-friendly city lens while planning and developing communities that work for all of us. And our mission is to empower young people with opportunities for inclusion, deliberation, and influence on local issues which affect their own lives. And before we go to the next one, we are a partnership. We are a nonprofit program out of a fiscal sponsor called Colorado Nonprofit Development Center. But then we partner with the University of Colorado, Boulder Valley School District, the City of Boulder, and 60 different local nonprofits and national nonprofits. Okay. So we really sit in the middle of an overlap of lots of different areas, ranging from early childhood to positive youth development, to urban planning. You know, we fit into so many different buckets, to sustainable cities, that really, to understand the full depth of it, you have to be thinking about all of these different pieces. Okay, can you see this? It feels so small to me, but we can share this after too, if necessary. So we were founded in 2009. So we've been around for about 12 years now, and we work with kids as little as babies all the way up through 18 years old. But then they're mentored by University of Colorado students, undergraduates usually, and Kathy and I lead that team of all these different partners, and we're kind of the one-man band doing all this at once. It's really important for us to work with historically marginalized groups of kids because we know they're even less likely to have their voices heard than most kids are not getting their voices heard to begin with, but we want to make sure we're especially elevating those voices. So 50% or more of our young people are from historically disadvantaged backgrounds. As I mentioned, we work with many, many partners. We've worked with 6,500 kids locally, but we've also impacted more than 2.5 million people globally. And the way we've done that is through the TED Talk that I gave, also through lots of lectures, keynotes, presentations. We do lectures to university classes globally. And so we really, our reach is worldwide. Yeah. Now, how many, can you raise your hand if you've seen our child-friendly city map? You've seen it. How many of you have children or grandchildren in your lives? Some child that you know. Okay, this is the best thing when they're visiting, because this map we designed with over 700 kids and their parents, and it's the country's first child-friendly city map. What that means is it's a map designed by kids, for kids and their families. It's bilingual. It has very easy literacy levels. So if you have a pre-reader, they can look for the pictures. We designed that on purpose. It shows shade coverings. It shows restrooms. It shows where you can get water. All the things that a parent or grandparent or caring adult would need to be able to take your kid out and about. You can get these at any of the kiosks on the Pearl Street Mall, but they're also available online. If you go to our website and type in map, it'll take you there. There's also a teen version. We've printed more than 30,000 copies of this map, and they go like hotcakes. So please use them. Okay. So, but what is this? Like, how do we start growing up Boulder? Why? Where is it based out of? Well, it's based on the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is actually a treaty that all the UN nations, except for the United States, ratified this treaty in 1989. And it says anyone under the age of 18 has certain protected rights that we really have to pay attention to. And then, please, next slide. There are cities all over the world that take this idea and actually implement it. And they're all over. We've got examples here from Mozambique, from Korea. It's only recently that the US has an official child-friendly cities program. But we decided we weren't going to wait for the US to catch up. We started this way before the US had an official version, because the kids are growing up. We can't wait. So anyway, it affects more than 30 million children in 40 countries worldwide. But what does it mean to be a child-friendly city? Well, it means having natural, safe, and diverse green spaces. It means having opportunities to actually give your voice to decisions which are going to affect your own life. Having access to health and basic services, which you were just talking about today, right? Many kids don't have, even in the US, many kids don't have that. Freedom of movement. So if you think back to your own childhood, I am guessing almost all of you had a lot more freedom to get around without an adult hovering over you than your grandkids or kids have today. I know I certainly did. Oops. And finally, integration into the community, not just child spaces. So often we think of kids as being for playgrounds. You send the kid to the playground, but actually a child-friendly city says kids have a right and actually benefit from being a part of all parts of our civic life. Okay.
And then the next question is, well, why should we care, right? This question says, why should we care what kids think? You know, even if we don't have kids or grandchildren. And this next set of slides is going to speak to that. The first reason is that kids are current and future citizens. And so, believe it or not, well, as a teacher of 32 years in the elementary school classroom, kids have a lot to say. And turns out that they have some excellent ideas. Often, those kids have the similar ideas than older young adults and other adults in our community, and they have very creative ideas. They are citizens right now. They have a right to give a recommendation, which you'll see in our slideshow, for things that affect them right now. They don't need to be able to drive a car or vote, right, to have great ideas for our community. Next slide. And then this one is a child-friendly city is a city that is friendly to all. So meaning seniors, those with a disability, right? And other even species. This is a picture of a mom pushing a stroller, and the same curbside cutouts that allows this mother to push their child to and from, you know, throughout the neighborhood easily would also help a disabled person who might be, in a wheelchair or, pushing, a walker, right? The same person, maybe a 14-year-old who's meeting their friends to go down to the Pearl Street Mall, hops on the skip, just like somebody who has given up their car because they're a senior and are finished with driving, right? So a city that's child-friendly is a city that's friendly to all. And then children designed for all ages. This is a project where we were working on a corridor from University Hill all the way down 11th Street, kind of past Alfalfa's and to the Civic area. And we worked with Presbyterian Manor seniors that you can see a couple of them peeking out there in the background, and a group of 5th graders from Flatirons. And we found in that multi-generational project that they all had the same creative ideas for enhancing that corridor. Things like shade and artistic murals and beautification of the space and places to sit. It was really a fabulous multi-generational project. And then this slide talks about young people being more creative and flexible. You think about, the first thing I think about when I think about my 3rd graders is how they think out of the box. They don't have the same kind of boundaries in their brains. They're just bubbles of ideas, right? Whereas as we get older, I know myself, I kind of think more in line with what I've been told or what I know is best. And children don't have that yet, for good reasons when it comes to designing their own city, right? And can you go back to that one? I just wanted to say that this was an example. I wish we could show you everything that we do, but sometimes children will get involved in a project and they'll make a slideshow or they'll make a mural. In this instance, they made a beautiful 3D model and to show city leaders what their recommendations were. And so this is just part of that mural or 3D model. And then all involved, everybody that's involved really benefit from the dialogue and sometimes the compromise that comes with children and youth being involved in civic decisions. And these 3 students, I believe, were English language learners and their teacher from Whittier, sharing their recommendations to City Council. And that's part of what we do in our project. So we go into classrooms, we work with teachers and students. Sometimes it's a short period of time, sometimes it's a long period of time. And then at the end, one of the things we always do, which there's a slide about this, but this just gets you ready, is those students give their recommendations. They present their recommendations to city decision makers. And in the process, not only does the city appreciate young people and their voices and their recommendations, but the children feel empowered. And then the children become engaged civically. And that's something that Mara and I feel really strongly about. This one's yours, Mara.
It makes sense to include the end user in the design. So this is a specific example from Vienna, Austria. And what happened was they noticed that at a park, girls and boys weren't using the spaces equally. So they said, what's going on? Let's go ask the girls and boys what's happening. Well, what the girls said was on this basketball court, there was only one entrance and exit and it was very narrow. Anyone have a guess what the problem with that is? They felt unsafe. If they needed an exit, they couldn't. And so what they did, because they were girls and they were young and they felt like we have to get out if we need to. What they did was they created 2 entrance and exits and made it wider. And guess what happened? 50-50 in terms of use of that space afterwards. It completely transformed the park. And so we have examples like that all around the world. When you listen to the people who are using the space, it actually changes it. Okay. And I forgot to say one super important thing. One of the founders besides myself, of all of this work is Dorothy Rupert here. She was actually instrumental to helping us pull together the first executive committee and some of the first funding and just the thinking behind all this. So I just want to deeply thank Dorothy for the fact that we're here today. It wouldn't have happened without her.
This next series of slides talks about how we do the work. What does it look like when we do this Growing Up Boulder civic engagement work, right? Next slide. So this is a quick model. I'm not sure you can see it from way back there, but basically we start here and we establish children as experts of their own lived experience, right? We introduce them to a project. It could be the North Boulder Library. We've got a couple slides about that. This spring, we worked on the Parks and Rec Master Plan. We've been working on the Boulder Police, Reimagining Police in Boulder Master Plan. We work with open space and mountain parks projects, a great variety of projects. And we introduce that to the children, and then they start to work and interact with that project. Very often, if it's a longer project, they're getting on their computers and researching outdoor learning all over the world. They might start with, what kinds of outdoor learning is happening right now in my school district, Boulder Valley? And then they might say, well, what kind of outdoor learning is happening in our state? And what kind of learning is happening in our region? And then our nation. And then guess what? They find out what's happening all over the world in places like Sweden or Denmark, Spain, right? And then they find what they like. And as they're increasing their knowledge about outdoor learning, let's say, sometimes we bring in city experts and people that know a lot about outdoor learning. And then the students have a session where they'll ask all their questions, right? And it's feeding their curiosity, it's feeding their understanding, right? And then at the end, the students will present, like I mentioned before, their recommendations for a project, right? Next slide. So here's a case study. North Boulder Library. It's a library that's going to be developed in the next few years. And the city came to Mara and I and said, could you please go work with some students and find out what they think? What do they want in a library, right? And so it turned out that we worked with 250 students from 3 or 4 different groups. And here's a couple photographs. And I want to tell you a little bit about it to explain our work. So the first thing we did is we went into classes and we talked about it. We introduced the North Boulder Library and told them that we were there to get their feedback. And so we told them a little bit about the project and kind of whet their appetite. And here's me talking to a couple students to find out, how do they use the library now? Like, which libraries do they go to now? What do they like to do there, right? And then the question is, well, if there was a new library, would you like to go there? And if you do, what would you like to do there, right? And so this was sort of like at the very beginning of the project, getting their appetite whet. And then here's a Growing Up Boulder intern who's teaching students an architectural software program. And the students are taking their ideas and for the library project, they're learning this architectural software, and I think there's the next slide that shows it, but that's okay, it's okay. It's the next one actually. So the students learning from university students architectural software so they can learn new skills along with learning about a project, right? So always trying to enhance their skills and their civic understandings. And then the next slide, this says increase kids' competence. And so through their research about what their interests were, this was, I believe it was a group who were really interested in bringing art to the North Boulder Library. And this group wanted to bring in, there's a mobile home community just adjacent to the proposed site that is been historically Latinx family members. And so they wanted to bring in a Latinx cultural piece to it. And so they put sort of culture and art together to come up with some of their ideas. And then another group interviewed outside experts. And these are examples of how the students really stretch their ideas about what's possible in projects. This is a 3D model that one student did to represent their ideas for a butterfly garden and flower garden on the site. And then here's that architectural, a photograph of the architectural program that one of our students did named Bella. Anything to add about that, Mara?
While we did that, it started out during normal times and became COVID times. And so within 1 week, we had to switch everything to being online, and we did. And teachers have told us, multiple teachers, our program is what kept their kids anchored when everything else felt like it was floating off into outer space. This kept them committed to learning, and it was absolutely huge. And we've heard this from a whole variety of teachers. That was it. Yeah.
Yes, and that brings up, Mara, just the idea of project-based learning, which is what research says is the best way to engage students, even reluctant students in the learning classroom. Anything that's project-based, like our work, gets them thinking about math and science and art and reading and writing, and it puts it all together in one very meaningful and relevant way. Next slide.
Okay. So I think we mentioned too, where we work on projects. If you didn't know it, kids can actually work on resilience planning and sustainability. They can create a transportation master plan alongside the adults. And right now they're working on reimagining policing. So nothing is beyond their grasp if you translate it correctly back and forth. Okay, next slide. So what is the impact? What happens with all of these ideas? Well, let's look at it at 3 different levels. First, it makes an impact on the individual children. And we do evaluations before and after they engage in our projects. We see a huge growth from the kids. They become civically engaged and wish to stay civically engaged. And this lasts for many years. So the impact can be enormous on individual kids. Okay. We see a change in the place. This is actually down by the Boulder Public Library. On the left is the kids' vision of the nature play area that was going to be built. On the right is the actual nature play area. That's their idea for a treehouse, which actually exists and was required to be implemented per city council. They said, per Growing Up Boulder children's recommendations, we must have a treehouse at the civic area. And there it is in existing form today. Okay. Yeah, then the master plan. This was a master plan from 2014 about transportation. The director of transportation used to carry this image in her portfolio. And when she would talk about what is our vision for transportation in Boulder, she would take it out and highlight, the kids asked for this. We are accountable to our future generation as well as our current ones. What are we doing to address this? So it's affecting the entire policy level, and it's for multiple policies. And then finally, actually there are 4 levels. We're actually in alignment with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. How do we create a sustainable future? A child-friendly city is a sustainable city, right? It's using public transport instead of driving gas-guzzling cars. It's creating nature-filled green spaces instead of building everything with cement and pavement. Okay. And we do trainings on these topics. So for instance, people hire us to teach them how to actually use these tools for their organization. And that's something that we've started doing to get more people being able to do this. And so this is very small, so I'll help read it. So if you wanted to be involved, like how would you be involved or how could you contribute? Well, first you can stay up to date on what we're doing. We have a newsletter that goes out about once a month or so. It's just on our website. It's easy to sign up. We also, if you're able to share with others what you've learned today, we joke that we're Boulder's best kept secret, but we don't want to be. And the reason for that is it's only Kathy and me doing this part-time, right? That's really hard to get the word out. And as I said, we're the one-man band. So the more people we have like you being able to share this with your friends and neighbors, the better it is for the program. We always are looking for volunteers who love doing development work or fundraising work, either grant writing or connecting us with people they know who might want to sponsor the sort of work, or doing corporate relations, connecting us. In fact, that's how we got here today, was through Amy Long from Nothing Bundt Cakes, who is an amazing human being. And she was able to help us become a part of this today. Finally, we print our map every year or so, and people can, or organizations can become sponsors of that map, which goes out to 10,000 people. So it's a great way to get the word out about your real estate company or whatever else you do. And finally, we're actually applying for a Rotary grant for the policing work. The kids have told us they don't just want talk, they want to do action. So they want to create either murals or a performance. We would work with them to co-create it. And so that's what we're hoping to be able to do, so that they can actually feel like they're taking action and not just words. Okay. And then these are, again, resources if you want to get in touch with us or visit our website. You can find my TED Talk there. We also wrote a book that talks about all these techniques and has examples from around the world. And now we want to offer it up to all of you for questions or reflections. And so, and thank you for letting us chat with you today. Yes.
What kind of training for the mentors that you develop to, by the way,
Thank you. So the question was, what kind of training do we do for the college students? Well, I sort of like to think they're under our wing, but we let them flap their own wings at the same time, the whole time. They literally are right next to us. So from that, we have had interns co-create a handbook for themselves. So each intern mentors the next intern, and then we take them on every meeting, every classroom interaction. We have them read some of the articles we've written from the beginning. And so little by little, we teach them more and more and let them have more responsibility. Anything you want to add?
I was just going to say that one of the things I do as an education director is I work with teachers, and teachers in Boulder Valley School District have so much on their plate curriculum-wise. I need to do all of these things. And I'll take our mentors or our university students with me, and they watch me work with teachers to make that project-based learning that happens with math and science and literacy and all that at the same time in a really meaningful way.
Yeah, great question. Yes.
When you take these kids and work with them the way that you do you see a change in the way they apply themselves in their normal schoolwork, so you engage them and make them a part of the community instead of a piece of it?
Absolutely. And Kathy, do you want to answer that?
You just gave me goosebumps. What a great question. We always go in at the beginning of any time we go in and work with children, give a 5-question sort of pre-survey. And the questions like, or adults listen to what I have to say, right? And it's like a, big smiley face and big frown face, continuum. And then we do the same thing at the end. And you can't believe all of the frowny faces are now smiling. But you don't even need the pre and the post survey to see it. It's like palpable. We hear teachers say that our projects get those reluctant students who don't like math and reading and language or everything. They're all of a sudden they're involved. And we like to even see that there's this equity piece there, that it doesn't take a good reader to build a 3D model or tell us what they think about what should be at the library, right? And so we just see students kind of sitting up tall, if that makes sense. It's like they are so engaged. And then of course the research says if they're engaged, then they feel belonging. And if they feel belonging, then they want to be engaged. So their academics actually improve. So great question, and the answer is yes, exclamation point.
I think we have now run out of time for questions, but they've already mentioned that they will provide all the contact information, the slide deck, so we should be able to spread that knowledge even further. One thing I did want to point out real quick is that we do have a new ambassador scholarship in the community. So the community organizations that are making an impact, it's a heavily subsidized membership to the club. So if you're interested, let us know. There's one last little thing else. It's over here. Jim, 1 second.
Thank you. So our transition installation there.
So I do want to give our guests a token of appreciation.
Oh,